Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe, and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Legal Connection with Tony and Cheryl. Tony and I'm Cheryl and Tony is here, and we are both Texas licensed attorneys, and we are here to help you. We talk about each week, Tuesdays from 12 to 1 p.m. We talk about various legal topics, and if you have a topic that you want us to talk about, then just email us at questions@legalconnectionshow.com, and you can check us out on Facebook too at facebook.com/Legal Connection Show. So Tony and I are here today. We're finishing up a 2-part series. I think we're going to finish it today. Maybe not, but that's okay. On defamation. Before we talk about defamation, Tony, you wanted to talk to our listeners about walkthroughs. Now,
Yes.
what are those?
Just briefly, because I've had some exposure to this. I do a criminal defense, and I've just in the recent couple of weeks, I've had several clients who learned that they had warrants out for their arrest, and it's a good thing to check. I mean, you just don't know. And in one particular case, this gal learned that her brother had charged her improperly with theft, and somehow got the charges to stick. Last year, she never knew about it.
So last year
and it's been inactive. She's had a warrant out for her arrest for quite a while. She's a good driver. There was no reason for her to be pulled over. She just has a warrant out. So the only reason she learned about it was she told her friend she was going to renew her driver's license. And the friend said, I don't know what made her look, but she said, oh, they may arrest you. You've got a warrant out. And so she called the bond company, which is what I always advise my clients to do, because those bonding companies have computer access to all, who's got warrants out and who doesn't. So that's just the easiest way to go.
Yeah.
Plus they want your business. And, and it's also, even though bonding companies have to, my understanding is they have a schedule of fees, or rates that they can charge. For the most part, they're competitive, and you can work with them on different things like financing and just different deals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so she calls out, finds out she's got the bond, and then I always get the same question: What should I do? Should I turn myself in, or can you handle it for me in court?
Right.
Well, there's several different things you can do, and different courts do different things. The very first thing I suggest when people find out they've got a warrant is to let me find out, to look into what court it's in, and I'll contact the court. There's just so many courts in every different county. Small towns are one thing, but in Harris, you've got, I don't know, I can't remember the number of it. I want to say 20 felony, 20 misdemeanor. Then you've got all the JPs, all the municipal. There's a ton, a multitude of different reasons. And you have warrants in all these different courts. So there's not one centralized system.
Right.
And so the question is, will the court let you do what's called a walkthrough?
Right.
And a walkthrough is when you actually go to court. You call the court in advance, let them know that you've got a defendant that's got a warrant out, that is a case in their court. You contact a bonding company, or you find out what the court's protocol is. But typically, you'll contact a bonding company, or you'll find out, or if your client has the money to do a cash bond. One way or the other, you've got the money to bail out.
Mm-hmm.
You either got the person that's going to help you bail out,
Mm-hmm.
or you're prepared to go do a cash bond, which is always my preference,
Mm-hmm.
with the sheriff. Why?
And a cash bond, that just means that the client puts up the money themselves.
The whole amount of the bond that's set.
Okay.
And then once the case is dismissed, they get the money back.
Right.
With the bonding company, they get to keep that service fee of whatever you paid them, which is the bail.
Mm-hmm.
And that being said, regardless of how you pay to get bonded out, in order to make the process go smoothly, so you're not in jail. Nobody wants to sit in jail.
Right.
You want to make sure that you can. I lost my train of thought. So I was thinking about all the different ways that I've gotten people out with these walkthroughs. You go through and you approach the judge, and the judge will. If that's what I was going to say. If you don't have a bond set, you have to go to court. The times that I have gone to court with my client is because no bond has been set, and they don't know what the bond is, and so one has to be determined by the judge, which is usually on a schedule.
And that's why you go to court, for the judge to
right.
determine the bond.
Right. Now, a lot of times you can do the walkthrough right then, though. You can say, I want to come in. They want to turn themselves in. Let's just get it reset. We can talk about, even if there was probable cause, you can still do a lot of things with your attorney in court. I am a big advocate, attorney or not, wouldn't even matter if it's an attorney, to have legal advice before going to court, because you want to make sure that you don't say something you're not supposed to say.
Right.
You want to employ your Fifth Amendment rights if possible. And plus, it's a little bit easier to negotiate at the court if you've got an attorney with you. That being said, though, if you go to court, that's my first option, is go to court with your attorney. Find out when the court hours are. And it's all messed up in Harris County right now because of Harvey. But go in there and take care of it that way. What you do is the court will let you go with the bondsman and your client over to the sheriff's office and show that you're bailing out. And you don't actually go to jail. You sit and they kind of they process you through without actually incarcerating you.
Right.
But you're not free to go because you're with your attorney, the bail person. Okay,
right.
That's my first choice. It usually takes, if the attorney will do it with you, it usually takes about 2 hours in Harris County. I think it'd be shorter in Montgomery or Polk or Waller in the smaller counties. Another option, if the court won't let you do the walkthrough, which in this particular situation I had yesterday, they did not. They said, we don't do that. You can actually turn yourself in, if you know what the bond is, to the sheriff's office. And it shouldn't, as long as you've got the bond taken care of, you've got the bail person with you, or if you're paying a cash bond, you've got your ID, you have to have a cashier's check or a money order. You can't use a personal check. You can't use a charge card. But if you go in there and take care of it, it's usually good to have a friend with you, just in case it doesn't work out or they don't accept your check or anything, because you're turning yourself in. There's a warrant.
Right.
Go in there and then you'll get processed through again without being arrested. So that's how walkthroughs work. And it is much better to turn yourself in than be surprised at the gas station, which is how all my clients get picked up.
Really?
I was getting gas and they got pulled in and they said, let me see your license or whatever. It's all, or a lot of times they're actually waiting for you outside if they're just have a slow day. Who knows all the different ways people get picked up. It just seems like gas stations are a big thing.
They get run, I guess.
The officers are waiting at the gas station in a certain, popular area, and they'll get you. They're just tracing license plates, I guess.
Yeah.
And I guess we need to have a guest officer on to find out what all their methods are, so we can help the
That's
the
a
public.
good idea. Yeah, we could do that.
No. But people, I guess, also the bottom line is you might check from time to time to see if you're worn out, because this person is a good person. There was no reason for her to believe there was a warrant out.
What would be an indication if she didn't know and there was a warrant out for her? For our listeners, what would be an indication if you to check? I mean,
just to check. I mean, just like going to the doctor for a checkup.
So call a bondsman and check and see if there's a warrant out for you.
You don't want to bug a bondsman for no reason if you don't have any if you don't have a reason to be calling them. But I will say this. Bonds people are like some of the nicest people ever.
I agree.
And they will help you no matter what. And I think that's good business practice, just to be friendly, because you'll go to them or refer people to them. And so they're happy to usually answer your questions, and they've got that facility right in front of them.
Right.
And so anyway, I check from time to time, not that I do anything wrong, but you just never know.
Yeah.
You just never know. And
okay, good advice.
Yeah, walkthroughs. You want them. So the two rules of thumb are: if you find out you've got a warrant, well, first call a bonding company, or try, if you learn, however you learn, if you got a warrant, call your attorney, and then your attorney can find out from the court if that court lets you do a walkthrough, and if you need to get a bond and that kind of thing. And secondarily, if you don't have an attorney first, turn yourself in, but make sure you've got the bond covered, all the proper prerequisites. I guess you could call the sheriff's department if they answer the phone. To make sure that you don't actually become incarcerated, because worst case scenarios, you go there, you don't have the right stuff, and you're incarcerated and nobody knows you're there.
Right.
So you got your one phone call. Hoping.
Well, I have a question. Your client, did you go with them to the sheriff's department yesterday and just sit with them?
No, I've done that before, though, because my clients all are so nervous and they want you to hold their hand.
Right.
They're seriously just like, can you walk with me? And a lot of them say, I don't have the money. Can I borrow it from you? And of course, I'm like, can we promise to pay me back?
Yeah, right.
So
Famous last words.
A lot of my, I help people when I can if I've got the money. That's what we should do. And if it's a small amount, I do the very best I can. Serve. I think what's the phrase? You always know this in the Bible. If you serve the downtrodden, it's like serving Jesus or something. What is that little phrase? When you're serving the lowest, I think Mother Teresa, I was reading about this morning at Mass. when you're serving the lowest among us, it's like you're serving Jesus.
Right.
Because,
Well, I
and-
mean, he said, do when you've done it to the least of these, you've done it to me.
That's what I was looking for.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I always try to help people that way.
Well, right. Good for you.
Well, that's
good
not
for
good.
you.
It's just what you're supposed to do. I think.
Well, good for you. You're doing what you're supposed to do. Good for you. Okay. Well, that's interesting. So check and see if there's a warrant if you suspect that there is. And
Oh, and to answer your question this morning, I did not go with my client. She had enough initiative after I explained everything to know what to do. And that was the other thing I wanted to add. If you do turn yourself in, you want to go on a not so busy day when the police have time to process you through. So Tuesday and Wednesday mornings are usually the least. It's not the weekend crowd and it's not going toward the weekend. We want to party early. Tuesday and Wednesday mornings, really early, seem to work in all the counties with those sheriff's departments as the least crowded. So
Okay.
that's the way to go.
Good. Tuesday and Wednesday morning. So, well, today we're going to be talking about, along with the walkthrough, that's good information for our listeners. We're going to continue our discussion on defamation. We're about to go to break here. Before we do, I want to let you know that our website is www.legalconnectionshow.com. We are working on getting all of our podcasts on our website so that you can download the podcast and listen. Tony, I think we're on like our 26th or 27th show now. So we have a plethora. That's a 50-cent word. We have a plethora of
I like litany
of legal topics that you can choose from. And also, if you go to irlonestar.com tomorrow, you can download the podcast on Google Play or iTunes. But right now, we're going to take a break. When we come back from the break, we're going to continue our discussion on defamation from last week.
and answer Facebook questions. Facebook us. We will answer any of your legal questions.
That's right.
On the air.
Ethan is here and he's got it pulled up. And if you've got any questions at legalconnectionshow.com or go to Facebook, facebook.com/Legal Connection Show and send us your questions and we'll answer them live on the air. So we'll be right back after the break.
Does your company have needs that can be met by an employee who is dependable, hardworking, enthusiastic, motivated, cooperative, respectful, and punctual? Conroe Independent School District Special Education Department can meet your needs by connecting you with potential employees that have been preparing for a lifetime of employment. We have numerous individuals seeking paid and unpaid work experiences. If your company is interested in seeing how we can meet your business needs, call Conroe ISD Special Education Department to find the best employees for you at 936-709-7671.
Don't forget to download the Lone Star Community Radio app for your Google Play or Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM. That is Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1.
Welcome back to the Legal Connection with Tony and Cheryl. Today we are talking about defamation. We're continuing our discussion on defamation. And the reason Tony and I wanted to talk about this is because we think it's current. You know, the whole Roseanne Barr thing and what she tweeted about Valerie Jarrett, which was one of Obama's cabinet members. I think it was his Secretary of State.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an opinion, actually, that she tweeted. It was tasteless and vulgar, but it was an opinion. It wasn't based on facts. So we thought we'd talk about defamation. And then, you know, I don't know. Trump is always saying stuff.
There's
just
just
his opinion.
Defamation is such a huge global area of law. And I guess the bottom line with any type of defamation is do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. Is that how it goes?
Treat others the way you want to be treated.
Yeah,
that's how they tell you in Sunday school.
Yeah, I always forget the exact.
Do unto others as you would have
and
them
you're
do
our
unto
scholar on all biblical verses. But the bottom line is people shouldn't be going around saying bad things and about other people and interfering with business contracts and all the other things that go with that,
Absolutely.
unless there's an actual benefit to, there's a reason for doing it other than just vindication and retribution and just being mean.
Right. It's in the public interest.
Yeah, and people do it all the
There's-
time. It's like the playground. Someone spreading rumors and that's an opinion, of course, but it's just mean.
It is mean, and I agree with you. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, or play nice.
But
make
it's also
nice.
though actionable.
Right.
When people defame you, it is actionable and it's in court quite a bit. I've represented people on defamation cases.
Mhm.
I
have a defamation suit right now.
They're all over the board. They are internet defamation. They are when somebody interferes with the business contract. They're when somebody when
Damages someone's reputation.
there's just it runs the gamut because when people it happens a lot that people send a letter out because they're mad
Mhm.
and they're trying to be, I don't know, they're just mad. And so they're like, I'm going to get somebody back. Whatever the case may be. But that being said, tell
Mhm.
us the elements when we'll get on to some of our stories and answer some
Mhm.
questions. Tell us the elements of defamation. What does it require to prove a cause of action for defamation?
Well, defamation can be spoken or it can be written. It can be in a movie, it can, and that's sort of like an oral thing
Mhm.
in the movie, but it sort of rides the middle,
When you say movie,
Yeah.
what are you talking about?
like a film.
Oh, like if somebody like
in
Michael
a
Moore
Right.
defames somebody in a film. Okay.
Exactly. A film, a television show, program, whatever.
Broadcast. Uh-huh.
Right. But the elements of defamation are there has to be a defamatory statement. It has to be made of and regarding the person who has been saying they've been damaged, the
Mhm.
plaintiff, the person who brings the suit. It has to be published to others. And that depending upon the type of defamation, it has to cause injury to the plaintiff. And I think you just talked about some of the injury. You were saying to your business relationships, to
Right.
your finances.
Some
to-
forms of defamation don't require you show injury. They're per se.
That's
and
right.
and that's if you and I don't have, again, we're a law show and I should have this right in front of me.
I have it here.
Oh, good, because I know that if for a fact, if you say that somebody is a coke addict,
Yeah.
or a drug dealer, and they're not, that's per se. That's automatically that the courts know that you have had damage because they've said something that's untrue.
Or that
about
you have you're a criminal, you've committed some sort of criminal crime, or you have
And it's not true.
right.
The problem with that is it's such a broad spectrum. If someone has a traffic ticket, that's a crime.
Right.
But if they're specific and they say, yeah, they murdered somebody when they
Right.
did it,
right.
that happens in court a lot. People will actually file false charges. That's defamatory. And does anything happen to these people that lie? All my
No.
clients are like, they told a lie just so that I would have a warrant out or I would go through this because they were trying to get back at me for something,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And it's really difficult to get somebody for perjury like that because they're not saying it under oath. They're saying,
Mhm.
well, I thought it was in the
Yeah,
public
that's
good.
what I heard. But there are four things. I think there are four. If you can, that makes it per se. Is if you say if the person is insane, they committed criminal acts, they suffer from a loathsome or venereal disease, or they're dishonest or incompetent in their profession.
And then
That's per se.
we go straight to how difficult defamation is because people say people are insane all the time.
Mhm.
But-
and then they say it was an opinion. Now that doesn't apply to opinions. Opinions are an exclusion that are constitutionally protected
Mhm.
to make sure that there's robust public debate and there's no chilling effect on someone trying to solve the society's problems. And so they can say, well, it was just my opinion.
They get covered by that quite a bit. And that being said, there's privileges, and the
Right.
privileges kick in. Somebody that I'm going to call professional defamers, people that harass for just the benefit of trying to get the edge in whatever the situation may be. And it
Mhm.
happens everywhere. It happens in divorce situations. It happens in
No kidding.
when there's parties against each other in lawsuits, in political
Mhm.
realms. I was just reading a case about, and it was an older case, and it was for something else I was working on. It was a whole different issue. But the mayor of, there was a political election. The mayor, I think it was Pasadena, it might have been South Houston, was running. He had two opponents. He had an opponent and a publicist. The opponent he was trying to unseat the mayor, published with his publicist all this horrible stuff about the mayor, horrible stuff. And the mayor was like taken back by it, but it worked. The mayor got unseated.
Oh, wow.
And he was mad. So he filed a defamation case. And
Mhm.
they ultimately, he lost, even though he should not have lost, because it was just a tactic so that they would win. Not
Well-
unlike our presidential elections and other political elections, but
So he could show malice, right?
not only did they say that there was one of the privileges was I don't think it was an official proceeding. It was not a public meeting. In that case, the reason they lost because they said it was an opinion. They said, "Oh, it was just an opinion." That opinion thing works really well, but
Mhm.
a lot of times it's not an opinion. It's very clear. Somebody writes something, and they'll say, for an example, let me see if I can use. I guess I could use you. I'll use you. And I'll say something completely untrue, so we know that there won't be any question about it.
Right.
Um,
See, that's a disclaimer. If you have a disclaimer, then say it's an opinion, then that'll stand up in court.
Christine Jahani, let me see, what could I say that's just completely untrue about you? Murdered 5 people and they're buried in her backyard. And I said this.
Completely untrue.
I haven't been to your house.
Completely untrue, Tony.
But she murdered and the reason that I believe she murdered 5 people is because I haven't seen him for a while. And, plus I'm mad at you because the Vatican medal that you gave me tarnished, and
Mhm.
I'm like insane. Okay. Well, that could be mitigating. I guess I'm insane. That would be my own defense for the defamation, but that's completely untrue. Let's say I published this.
Mhm.
I don't see, does it meet all the factors? Does that example meet the factors of defamation that you just read me? So read out each factor and we'll just look at that example.
Okay, that's good. Okay, a defamatory statement is the first element.
Let me change that. I'm going to change it to our favorite Brady Bunch.
Okay.
What's
Yeah.
her name? Carol
And
said-
Mike.
Carol said, Carol was mad because she found out Mike was gay.
Okay.
And
Really?
after all that, yeah, she found out, but no one knew.
Uh-huh.
But she wanted more royalties from the show,
Uh-huh.
and so she wrote that not only was the character gay, but the actor was gay, and that she just wanted people to know because that it was in the public interest for people to know this.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's find out, did Carol Brady defame Mike? The
Okay.
actor and the character,
Mhm.
when Carol Brady and the actress Florence Henderson, wrote a letter on behalf of both. So let's work through that.
Okay, so the first thing you need is number 1, a defamatory statement.
Okay, that's pretty defamatory.
Uh-huh. Can be.
So the statement is Mike is gay and the actor that played him is gay. Okay,
Okay.
2 different statements.
Okay. So number 2, that is made of and regarding the plaintiff. So in this case, Mike would be the plaintiff because he's mad and he's going to sue her for defamation.
Right. She has specifically used the name of the actor. Who's the actor? I can't remember. It was Mike Brady, but there was 2 of them.
No, there was just
there's only one?
Mike. Mhm.
I'm confusing that with I Dream of Jeannie.
Right. Or Bewitched. There were a bunch of
Bewitched,
Darrens.
they were gay too.
They were?
One of them was.
Yeah, I think it was
That
the
might be defamatory.
second or
I don't know for sure. It's an opinion.
Right. So anyway, so he's mad. Mike is mad, right? He's suing her. So
Uh-huh.
he's the plaintiff. I
Now,
just
let's
want
look
them
at
to know who
statement
the
itself,
plaintiff
though.
is.
Statement itself.
Okay. That's made of and regarding the plaintiff.
And we're going to limit it now because I've got too much confusion going on. The mom, we're just going to use the characters. Carol
Brady.
says Mike is gay because
Mhm.
she's mad and she wants a divorce from her second husband. The Brady Bunch is not working out.
Okay.
So Carol says Mike is gay and she publishes it to the local
Now, is she talking about the character?
No, right now we're just talking just the characters, right? Carol.
Okay. That depend.
Carol Brady.
Yeah. So is it made of and regarding the plaintiff? If
Yeah, she
he's-
says Mike Brady's gay.
Well, see, he's suing as himself. And so if it's his character,
No.
the character,
right.
Mike Brady,
Okay, Mike Brady, the character, right?
then the actual individual wouldn't have suffered any defamation.
No.
because-
The character's real. Okay, so here.
Okay.
So
All
here,
right.
I'm going to tell me where I'm wrong. I'm going to try to analyze it since it's my own example. I'm not being very good about it. Carol Brady says Mike Brady is gay, and she sends it to the local PTA. because she's mad and she wants a divorce and she's trying to bolster her position to be able to get child support for all 6 kids because she's adopted as 3 boys. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so is it defamatory? Yeah. Well, the statement is that he's gay.
Mm-hmm.
If it's true, it's not defamatory.
Right.
But he's saying it's not true.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And then the next step is, did she use his name? Yes, she put it out in writing.
Regarding him.
Specifically
yes.
him.
Okay. The third one is it's published to others. So
Yes.
she writes it
She
in
writes
his letter.
the letter. It's clear.
the
There's a
PTA.
publication. He gets it later. He finds
Published
it.
to others.
Mhm.
And the fourth one is that depending on the type of defamation involved, causes injury to the plaintiff. See, that's the killer right there.
Okay,
is
but
showing injury.
So the question is, when she told us the PTA, nobody had an indication that he would be gay.
Mhm.
Was Mike Brady gay? And so the question, then you have to go to the defenses, and was it privileged, and was it her opinion? Well, this
Was
isn't
it true?
It didn't say, in my opinion, he's gay.
Mm-mm.
So that's pretty clear. That looks like a defamatory statement.
Mhm.
So opinion would not be a defense.
Mhm.
Was it? And of course, he comes back and he sues her for defamation, just like you said. He's
Mhm.
suing her, and
Mhm.
he's saying it's per se because she's saying he's gay. That's one of the. He doesn't have to show an injury
Mhm.
because it's automatically known that sort of allegation, if not true, has an injury. All right. So there would be exemplary damages and various other things. All right. So we've got. I believe that we have all the elements for defamation. A statement
Defamatory
made that's
statement.
defamatory, published to at least one person.
Mhm.
It can only have to be one. It doesn't even have to be republished. It could just be to one person, even a private by a letter. Let's
Mhm.
say Carol wrote this letter to Mike's mother.
Mhm.
That's defamation
It is.
because it's just his mother. Even if it was just a letter, it's published to another person.
And I think it's interesting to our listeners to know too that if the mother turned around and told someone else, the mother could also be
Yes,
sued for
gossip
defamation.
Can
You
also
repeat it.
you can get in trouble if you repeat defamation. I think there may be just some defenses to that. That I don't know what they would be though, because if you repeat gossip and it's defamation,
Then you become the defamer.
one more reason not to gossip. Yes.
Yeah.
You can say, I heard this, I'm not sure if it's true. Now you've protected yourself.
Yeah.
Saying this is just news
It's
worthy.
like it's
Right,
a
okay.
disclaimer.
But to actually say it and not have any backup, that's kind of a bad thing. Okay. So he goes through and he says this defamatory statement. So now he's got to prove that that it's not true. So Carol says, well, you know what? I know he's really not gay. I just said that, but it's okay because I said it in a, let's look at all the privileged matters because that's the first attack on defamation. Was it true? She should say, yeah, it was partially true. I know that he had a gay relationship in high school. So I think he's gay. If she can prove it's even remotely true, that's a defense.
Mm-hmm.
That was a mean thing that she did, but she now has, if she can prove that there was some relationship from a credible witness,
Mm-hmm.
and a jury believed it, then that would be a defense. There was some nugget of truth to it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so she's just being mean, and there may be some other cause of action for her doing that. I don't know what would be right now. It depends on who she wrote it to, who her target audience was.
Mm-hmm.
Many people write letters to or broadcast untruthful information to people that they know will hurt the person they're trying to hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll write to someone's boss or someone's wife or someone's child.
Right.
They're doing this to be vindictive,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not a defense. So that's just, we know what their motivation is. There was a case that recently, we were just talking about it, from South Texas,
Mm-hmm.
and a Professor Paulson,
Mm-hmm.
he was invited to look at a case as a professor. One of his students said, "Hey, will you take a look at this case and tell me what you feel about it?" And I think it had to do with somebody that had what's it called when you have when you try to get pregnant through in vitro fertilization.
Mm-hmm.
It had something to do with
Artificial.
the adoptive rights of an in vitro fertilization thing. And so he didn't think that he had an opinion on the case, that he thought he was not in agreement with one of the attorneys. So he wrote an amicus brief, which is completely legitimate. You can do
Right.
that.
Of course. you
And
can.
the attorney that he wrote the brief against, if I have this straight, was angry that he wrote the amicus brief. So she wrote a letter about Professor Paulson to the president of South Texas, where he works.
The South
So
Texas
basically, she
College of
wrote
Law,
a
the law
letter
school.
to the employer of Professor Paulson saying he needs to be sanctioned.
I cannot believe
Yeah,
that.
and that was completely wrong because he had a a right for a public speech to
They
have
sure
an
did.
opinion on that.
Well, in the amicus brief, attorneys write those all the time.
She had no right to go straight to his boss and say he should be sanctioned. You have to kind of look at the source, though. In a law school, the president of law school is also an attorney, and he knew that she was angry, and he knew that she was trying to hurt Professor Paulson for his opinion. But what she did was still wrong. She didn't have any business trying to interfere with his business contract.
Right.
So where she didn't have a defamation, he didn't have a defamation claim. He did have interference with the business contract. And what just came out, I just saw today. I wasn't following it. It was just something that kind of showed up in the paper. It came about that they had all kind of suits going back and forth, and one was he filed what's called I think they both filed anti-SLAPP suits, and what that is, there's legislation that if the defamatory statement is privileged because it helps the public, basically, it puts people on notice of something bad, then it has to be dismissed. In other words, they want people to come forth with notifying people of bad people. But the line is crossed when there really isn't a reason for the actual defamatory statement other than vindictiveness and retribution. And that's all this woman was doing that for. She was just mad that this professor didn't agree with her. And the anti-SLAPP legislation shouldn't prevent people from. It shouldn't be an avenue for people to get mad at somebody and defame them to their bosses to try to get them fired, which happens quite a bit. And that goes to people in divorces too. I know that we've got several cases that we both work on individually where the spouse, one of the angry spouses, is writing letters to the employer and various other friends and neighbors of the other spouse to get them in trouble when there's not any truth to it, or maybe there is a little bit, but just enough so that they get in trouble. There should be a law against that. I think there is a law against that, and that kind of goes to we'll go back to the basic tenets of our original law. You should treat people like you want to be treated,
right?
And again, if you're treated badly, and this is all en masse this morning, then you have to learn to forgive the person that was bad to you, because you have to get that off of your heart. You have to get it out of your conscience so you can have peace. So forgive your enemies, because you don't get any benefit when God says you forgive your friends. Forgive your enemies.
He said even the pagans and sinners do that.
But here's the catcher. It doesn't mean that justice should not be done through the civil courts, the criminal courts. Forgive them for what they have done, but go forth with justice.
I agree with that. I really do.
Yes, they should get a free ride.
We live in Texas, and it's the Bible Belt here, and people think a lot of times that forgiveness is forgetting and never thinking about it again. And that's not. I disagree with that definition.
Somebody murders your child.
Yeah,
you can find it in your heart to forgive them for whatever the reason that they did that, for sure. But there should be justice. There should be, if they murdered them, I don't care what the explanation was, then they should go to prison. I mean, if they were out of their mind, they should go to a mental hospital and get some treatment. But that's not up to you. People shouldn't get justice on their own. They should allow the justice system to run it through its course.
To prevail. Absolutely.
That's what we're here for today, is to tell people that, it all kind of goes with defamation too. Let the justice system take care of it. And sometimes justice isn't done, but you can't go forward and have your own remedies. You have to allow justice through civil and or criminal to take care of that. Because ultimately, if you fight and you have the perseverance and you have God's grace, and you will prevail one way or the other.
Absolutely. Well, so what happened with Professor Paulson? Was it all just dismissed?
Ultimately, what it came down to, and I'd love to have Professor Paulson on here.
We could.
Or even Ellen Yarrell.
Is that the
name? She is the attorney that disagreed with what Professor Paulson's amicus brief. So she had a position, but whatever that position may be, if she wants to come on and talk about her side, or Professor Paulson wants to come on and talk, I would love to have them on. But ultimately, they said that her letter to Professor Paulson's employer, the president of the law school, was opinion. They said that it was clear that she just had an opinion that he shouldn't have done that, and it was her opinion he should be sanctioned. I beg to differ. I think that it wasn't an opinion. When you send a letter to someone's employer, the intent is to hurt them.
Mhm.
It's not just an opinion.
Right.
But they said that, I have to read through this long brief, but the bottom
Right.
line was he did get the word out. The good thing is it's just like they said about the abortion rights in Ireland, where Ireland just passed a law that allowed more abortions to be more free than they
Mhm.
had been previously. The Catholic Church basically said, we don't look at that as a loss. We look at it as it would have been a loss if we hadn't fought.
Mhm.
So you have to fight for what you think is right and get the word out.
Mhm.
So
And that's what Paulson did.
that's what he did. He said, you can't do this. This is wrong. I don't know that this is the end. He may have more levels of appeal on that because
Mhm.
I really haven't gotten that closely into the case. But I believe that what this woman did as an attorney was
Mhm.
wrong. She had no business interfering with the business contract saying, I don't like what he wrote and I think you should sanction him. That was none of her business.
Right. Absolutely.
And I'm completely aligned with him. But it went back to defamation. They said that they thought it was an opinion.
And so the reason that it's named anti-slap is it that you can't slap someone across the face and get away with it? Is that kind of the thinking?
I will tell you a little bit about anti-slap. Do we have time during the segment for you to read about it? Or okay, well, I want to tell people about anti-slap. So,
Well, why don't we take a break and we want you to know if you're dealing with a defamation issue, if you've got questions, you can send us your questions at questions@legalconnectionshow.com. Tony and I are both attorneys. We're here to answer your questions, to help you through any kind of legal maze that you may find yourself in. We're going to go to break, and we will be right back after the break talking about defamation.
Is there someone you know who is hooked on vintage aircraft? Follow the Commemorative Air Force and its fleet of World War II planes, including the mighty B-17 Flying Fortress Texas Raiders, which is based in Conroe, Texas. Texas Raiders tours locally and all around the United States, offering the public a chance to put their hands on aviation history. What could be a more perfect gift than a flight on a historic B-17? Taking to the sky on the iconic bomber is an experience that will never be forgotten. For the touring schedule, reservations, or more information, go to b17texasraiders.org or call 855-FLY-A-B-17.
Lone Star Community Radio is ready for the summer. If you or anyone you know is looking for a summer internship, Lone Star Community Radio is a great place to learn the radio and TV business. Contact the station at info@irlonestar.com or call the station's message line at 936-647-3776. Lone Star Community Radio offers a great opportunity to those interested in learning about the radio world.
Hey guys, this is Connor.
This is Dick.
This is Chris.
And we're with the Ticket Stub Podcast every Thursday live at noon on 104.5 and 106.1 FM in the Conroe area. Also, anytime at irlonestar.com. You go to irlonestar.com/TTS. You can find all of our social media.
And don't forget, we give away 2 tickets to the Grand Theater on every show.
If you like movies and you like complaining or celebrating anything that has to do with the silver screen, check out the Ticket Stub Podcast and join us every Thursday at noon o'clock on Lone Star Community Radio.
Welcome back to the Legal Connection Show with Tony and Cheryl. Tony and I are here today talking about defamation. And you know, Tony, I'm going to contact Professor Paulson. James Paulson is his name, and he was my professor for marital property, and he was great. I love that guy.
Very fair.
Very fair, very intelligent, and he's such a history buff about Texas and the United States and marital.
I had him for 2 classes. I can't remember.
I don't
what they
remember what
were.
else he teaches. Probably
But he
marital
was.
property was one of them.
It's just, I think it's been like 18 years. I just can't remember.
I can't remember what other class he teaches.
I
because
remember him
only
being
had
very,
for a
very
while.
helpful, though. And he was a very clear teacher. And I think that he would be able to help us make more clear sort of the elements and the defenses with regard to his particular situation in the defamation case. And And, like I said, there's such a broad spectrum of elements for defamation that we haven't even hardly, touched the surface on. I had all these questions. One is internet defamation.
Let's do questions. You want to do questions?
Well, I did have a question about internet defamation. It's a brief one. It's like, what do you do when someone defames you on a review site, or do you take down just that review site? You actually, I just learned this too. There's a website, if they take it down, but you've still been defamed,
right? Because
people saw it, or it can be on other sites that you haven't seen because it can be reproduced. There's something, if you can't prove it because they've taken it down, which people do all the time, like Roseanne Barr tried to do, but hers got out before she got to take it down, or recant or whatever. There's something called www.waybackmachine.com.
W-A-Y?
Waybackmachine.com. And it downloads like every, so very, very, a lot. It downloads everything on the internet, everything apparently on the internet, like every few minutes. And you can actually subpoena them and get the stuff that people took off to show the defamation. So you're not off the hook, people, when you try to do something bad like that. And so that's really good news to know. Apparently, it's really easy to get this information too, and they're a good source. The other thing is, if someone's defaming you on the internet, you need to contact, I would say you could contact an attorney, but the first line of action would be to not go back and try to fight them online. I guess you could. That was very recent. That happened with another client of mine. They had defamatory statements going back and forth on like a Google review site, and they got into it. And ultimately, the person that started it, the bad guy, wiped everything off because it was learned that what she was saying wasn't true. So that action did work because it got them to take it all down. But who knows what damage was done in the interim. So you want to contact the provider. And generally, if you contact an attorney, they can get an injunction filed to get it taken down and maybe have an apology issued or whatever. But defamation of the internet is really difficult because it's so broad. But the Wayback Machine will help you to prove it. And you also have to look at the damages. I mean, you can get damages, but you have to look at the source. Another example is an employer and employee situation. If somebody says that they were fired from a job, okay, let me give two different examples. The employee goes to find another job, and they call the new potential employer, calls for reference, and the previous employer is mad they left and gives them a bad reference. Okay, let's say the person left for no reason at all. They just wanted to start their own business, and if they thought they were leaving on good terms. And this employer gave them a bad reference, and it happens a lot more often than you would know. All the time. The employee can sue for defamation, even if it was just verbal, because they would have the statement of the person that was told to. And if they could prove that it wasn't true, not even a nugget of truth, then who knows what it was said, but whatever it was said, then that's actionable. Okay. And you can probably recover from a corporation. There's a lot of laws that, there's discriminatory, all kind of laws. So be careful. And I do this from being a manager at some large companies, where I manage like 40 or 50 people. You have to be really, really careful about all those different, federal laws for discrimination at the state level and that kind of thing. But I wasn't ever saying anything that was wrong. If you do the right thing, you're pretty much protected for the most part.
What about if they get a bad reference and they deserved it? I mean, they can.
That's not defamation. They can sue all they like, and people should not hold back about giving bad references because it's not fair to the new employer that they don't know the person they're getting is a deadbeat.
I know that they do hold back because they're afraid that they're going to be.
I've given reviews. I'm very honest. I'm completely honest, and I'm not afraid of a defamation suit because if somebody worked for me, I tell them the good and the bad, and I'll say it's not my opinion. These are what happened. I'll give them examples, and that's all you do. You just say the truth because you really should do the right thing. Like Dr. Laura says, always do the right thing. On the other hand, if the employer wants to sue the employee because the employee is going around saying the employer, I don't know who it would be, is terrible, and they, I can't even think of an example of a big employer that happened to, but any of the big corporations.
King. What about Burger King?
They were horrible. They're discriminatory. They put, cat feces in their burgers, but people they don't like. They spit on the buns.
Not true.
They're making stuff up. Okay.
Right.
Burger King has every right to defame them, and they have to protect themselves to show that it wasn't true. So there has to be a suit. They usually have the money to back that. But Burger King would probably never expect to get any kind of damage recovery because they don't have any money. This is the kind of person that is not employable, or they just don't have. They're judgment proof, but they have to fight it because they have to get that. They have to get the record straight. Defamation is a huge area of law, and again, There's mitigating factors. I want to go over those just briefly. To determine the extent and the source of the actual damages and to mitigate exemplary damages for like per se or what have you, because you're going to get those damages. It's just what amount it's going to be. If somebody defames you and says you're a drug addict or you're gay and you're not, they say completely wrong things about you or your company. The defendant in a libel action may give evidence of the following matters if they have been specifically pleaded. All material facts and circumstances surrounding the claim for damages and the defenses of the claim. So anyway, the person that said it's trying to mitigate it. They're saying, it was partially true. I offered a public an apology. I offered a correction. I offered a retraction.
Right.
Sort of like what Roseanne tried to do,
right,
to mitigate any damages they would have against her for this damaging statement that she made.
Which was really just her opinion. I mean,
it was her opinion. It wouldn't have been actionable. But if she went to a court and let's say they bought the judge off and the court said, it was a bench trial. The court said, this is defamation and you owe me, $5 billion because that was so horrible what you said because they were really big Obama judge or whatever. And we're just going to nail you to the cross on this. She could come forward with, these are the mitigating factors. I offered an apology. It was my opinion. I retracted, all the things that people do when they really are contrite. That goes straight back to what we heard of Mass today. And it was the reading this morning, which was just sort of, kind of all went together with what our show is. And you'll know this story. The story is where Naboth had a vineyard and Ahab wanted it. He was the king of Israel. And he asked Naboth, hey, will you sell it to me? And Naboth said, no, I kind of like my vineyard, not selling anytime soon here. And Ahab was like, Ahab's wife, Jezebel, said, you should kill him. And I think that's how the story went. Didn't Jezebel say, just kill him?
And he did.
And so she wrote and then he did. And because Jezebel's reasoning was, if you kill him, you'll get it because you're the king.
Right.
And of course he did.
Cheat back to this day.
Yes. And they did kill this poor guy that was just,
wanted his vineyard.
Running his vineyard. You can't go around killing people for their just because you want it.
Right.
There should be justice. I have a few things to say about what was my proverb? My proverb was,
your proverb was great. It was
there's so
the evil do not understand justice, but those who follow the Lord understand it quite well. It was something like that.
Yes. And a lie will not stand, but the truth will exist forever.
Yeah.
And, my when I was praying, I was directed to Proverbs and, I forgot it was something to the effect that you cannot change old property lines.
Right.
Or God will defend you. But it kind of goes toward the Naboth and Ahab also.
Yeah.
And that he went in there and said, your property is my property now.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, I'm going to come kill you. And then they did.
Yeah.
And Naboth was a good guy.
He was.
Okay. So what happened was Elisha got involved. And I don't know if Elisha came through a vision but he found out what happened. He found out that Naboth was killed by Ahab, the king, because he had the power to do it. And we got away with it just because he wanted his vineyard. He was greedy. And so Ahab was a prophet and God told him, you need to go let Ahab know that his life is going to be the worst life he's ever had. I'm going to strip him of everything. He's going to die a horrible death. The pain he suffers will be like none other. All of his heirs, he will have no heirs. I will kill everybody. Basically, Elisha, who, was like a huge prophet, because wasn't he at the Transfiguration? I mean, Elisha was a big guy in the Bible.
It was Elijah, I think, was at the Transfiguration.
Yeah, Elisha. Oh, it wasn't Elisha. Was it Elijah or Elisha that told us to Ahab?
I think who you're talking about is Elisha. They were around
the same time. One was younger than the other.
Elijah was first, and then Elisha came after him, I believe.
In any case, God spoke to Elisha, who was the protege of Elijah, and said, go let Ahab know he's dead meat.
Right.
There is no way he's going to, for what he did, this is the justice of God. Where you will not, what you knew, you will never for eternity be able to get past this. But what Ahab did was he completely became contrite. He wore, potato sacks and was down and he was contrite and, whatever. He was doing everything with his power. He was giving away all of his worldly goods. I mean, I don't know if he gave up his kingdom, but he was like, please forgive me. Just with all of my power, I'm sorry. Kind of like the public apology, correction, retraction.
Exactly.
And I will be damned if God didn't buy into it. God said, I'm a forgiving God. And he's been so contrite that even though you did this horrible, horrible thing, I'm going to forgive you, which is what the whole service was today. You have to forgive your enemies. However, he
Mhm.
wasn't off the hook. All of his heirs would be damned and they would live a horrible life. And everything that was going to happen to him is now going to happen to all of his children.
Yeah.
So
God spared him.
he spared him because he was contrite. But look, his kids couldn't even have a say in it.
Right.
So there is still justice. There's still damages. But this is the same kind of thing. They tried to get around it. It's sort of going into the mitigating factors. You can sometimes mitigate this.
That's right. You
But there will
can.
still be a penalty. All right. So what I was going to say about the anti-SLAPP case is the type of law that it covers is the reason that it came about was because it's the legislation has decided that people needed to be able to, in a nutshell, the legislation wanted to encourage and safeguard constitutional rights of defendants to speak freely, petition, associate freely, and otherwise participate in government to maximize the extent provided by law, so they can say what they want to say. All right. Which reminds me, real quick, because I know we got our show's almost over, but I was going through a metal detector the other day, and I have a rosary that I wear that has got metal on it.
Uh-huh.
And the metal detector guy, he was so funny over here in the courthouse annex. He goes, separation of church and state, ma'am. I was like, I don't think that's how it works. Because,
Not on my body.
yes, that's not why we have separation. That's not what's in the Constitution. First Amendment rights say that I have a right to talk about, Jesus because he is our Lord and Savior, and I won't be penalized by it or, beheaded like Thomas, Thomas or St. Thomas over, like King Henry VIII. Okay. So anyway, what's his name?
Thomas More? Was it Thomas
yes,
More?
St.
Yeah.
Thomas More. How can I forget? That's where my kids were baptized. So anyway, it's a safeguard, but you have to have to succeed to get rid of this. If you're saying, oh, I can say that, like Professor Paulson, I can say these bad things about you. In order to
I
succeed,
felt like it.
yeah, you have to meet certain standards. And if you don't even have a witness, or the statement clearly was for retribution, then that doesn't stand. That is defamation, and it should stand.
That's right.
And if the first court you go to doesn't rule in your favor, the next higher up one on appeal, and we've talked about that well.
Okay. All right, Tony. Well, this has been a great show. We've been talking about defamation. Reach out to us, questions at legalconnectionshow.com. Listen to us next week on 104.5, 106.1, Conroe's FM. And don't forget
to serve God by serving others.
That's right.
Always.
Thank you, guys. Have a great week.
Hit the ground running in 43. Drove a tank through Normandy. Fighting for his country, no guarantees. He didn't think twice.